Sometimes hope shines brightest in the darkest moments. In this part, Liam faces a new challenge, but his human spirit and belief in connection keep him moving forward, reminding us all that hope never truly fades. The seasons changed again, but Liam's heart still carried the same quiet ache, though the messages from Mars had been a comfort. The gap between him and Ava felt larger some days. The distance was real, and sometimes it was hard to hold on. One cold evening, Liam sat by his window, staring at the red dot in the sky that marked Mars. He sighed deeply. The stars were bright, but his thoughts were heavy. He missed her. More than words could say. He opened his tablet and scrolled through his messages, the letters, the replies, the stories from others. But Ava's name was missing, no new message. His chest tightened. The silence wasn't easy anymore. He wanted to reach out again, but he wasn't sure how. What if she was busy? What if she had moved on? What if his hope was just wishful thinking? Liam's fingers hovered over the screen. He wanted to type, to send something, anything, but the words caught in his throat. He closed the tablet instead. He stood and went to his rooftop. The cold night air brushed his face, and he pulled his jacket tighter. The hope sky was still there, glowing softly in the dark. The paper notes fluttered in the breeze like tiny wings. He reached out and touched one. It read, "Keep shining." Liam closed his eyes. He thought about what Ava once said about human strength, about never giving up. And in that moment, he made a choice. He would keep shining. He would keep reaching. He would keep hoping. Not because he was sure of a reply, not because he expected a miracle, but because that was who he was, a human, and humans never stop trying. The next morning, Liam wrote a letter not for Ava but for himself. "Dear me, it's okay to be sad. It's okay to feel lost. But don't forget, hope is a fire inside. It needs to be fed. So keep going, keep shining, keep being human." He posted the letter to the forum and added a new message with it. Sometimes the hardest part is waiting. But that doesn't mean we give up. Messages came back quickly. People shared their own struggles with distance and loneliness. They reminded Liam he was not alone. That night, Jordan visited again. "You okay?" Jordan asked gently. Liam nodded. "I am. I just had to remind myself why I started this." Jordan smiled. "You're stronger than you think, and you're not just helping Ava. You're helping all of us." They looked up at the stars together. The sky was quiet, but it was full of light. And Liam knew, no matter what happened next, he would keep reaching, because hope was what made him human. And the stars were still shining for both of them, asterisk, even across the greatest distances. The human heart can find its way home. In this final part, Liam discovers that hope, patience, and faith in connection can bridge any space. Showing the true power of the human spirit, it was late spring when Liam's tablet buzzed again. He almost didn't notice it. He had learned to live with silence, to carry hope quietly inside him without needing constant answers. But this time, the message was different. The screen lit up with Ava's face. She looked tired, but happy. The background showed a small Martian greenhouse. With green plants glowing softly, "Liam," she said softly, "I'm sorry it took so long to reply. Things here have been hard, more than I expected. But your messages, all of them, they helped me. Helped us." Her eyes shone with emotion. "We're building a new home here. But Earth is still home too. Your hope kept me going when I felt far away and alone." Liam's throat tightened. Words felt too small for what he wanted to say. She continued, "I see your lights, Liam, the hope sky, the messages from Earth. It means the world to us." For a moment, they just looked at each other through the screen. Two people separated by millions of miles, yet connected in a way no distance could break. "I miss you," Liam finally whispered. "I miss you too," Ava replied. She smiled gently. "We'll find a way to visit soon. Till then, keep shining. You're light. You're the reason I'm still here." The call ended, but Liam stayed on the rooftop, looking up at the stars. The red dot of Mars blinked softly. He thought about all the times he had waited, hoped, and reached out. All the messages, Sent and received. All the people who had joined in, it hadn't been easy. But it had been worth it, because being human meant never giving up. Being human meant carrying hope even when the night was long. Being human meant believing that love could cross any distance. Liam smiled. The stars were still shining for both of them, and as long as that light burned, they would never be truly apart. Asterisk. When someone you care about becomes a quiet name on a faraway planet, how do you reach them again? This is a story of human feeling. Human strength and the hope that distance can't break. Kara walked down the corridor of her space station, holding a cup of hot tea in her hands. The hall was quiet, with only the soft hum of systems working. In the background, every day felt the same now: wake up, check her console, fix things, and go to sleep. But every night, she still looked for a message from Davin, even after his warm reply 9 days ago. The silence had returned. Maybe it was just the distance. Maybe it was the work. Or maybe it was something else. She tried not to think too much, but the truth was, Kara missed him deeply. His voice had brought back a flood of memories, fixing cracked solar panels side by side, laughing in the mess hall, leaning back against the shuttle and talking about stars they hadn't seen yet. She remembered the way he always looked calm, even when systems were crashing. She remembered how he once said, "You don't leave your people behind. That's the rule." So why did it feel like he'd left her? Still, she didn't give up. She started writing short messages each day, not long ones, just a few words. Today, the hydro pump failed again. I thought of your trick with the sealant. Still doesn't work without you. The night sky here looks like the one over our launch site. Remember the station lights? I miss your stupid jokes. Send. 1. She didn't know if he was getting them. There was no reply. But writing them made her feel like she was doing something, like the space between them wasn't just silence. One day, her crewmate Jenna sat beside her in the observatory. You okay? Jenna asked gently. Kara nodded, but her voice was soft. Just tired. Jenna gave her a small smile. He'll write back. You know how these long-range missions are. Half the time, I think they're too scared to send messages because they don't know how to explain the loneliness. Kara looked over. You think they get lonely too? Of course, Jenna said. We all do, but humans. She paused. Thinking, we don't give up, even when we're scared. We send the message. We wait. We try again. Kara held those words close. That night, she didn't just write a short message. She recorded another voice log. Her voice shook at first, but then it grew stronger. Davin, I don't know what's going on over there. Maybe things are hard. Maybe it's easier not to talk. But I need you to know. I'm still here, and I still care. You once said you don't leave people behind, I remember. Either just tell me you're okay. That's all I want. She sent it and waited. 9 more days passed. The stars kept blinking, then suddenly her console lit up. A video message. She opened it with a deep breath. Davin's face appeared. He looked tired, with a few cuts on his cheek, but his eyes were full of feeling. Kara, you're right. I've been silent, and I'm sorry. Things here got worse. We lost contact with one of our drones, and half our team had to split up. We're safe now, but it's been hard. Really hard. And I didn't know how to say any of it without making you worry. But hearing your voice, it reminded me I'm not alone. You never gave up. That means everything. He paused. I wish I could be there with you. I think about it every day. But for now, this is me. Still out here. Still caring. Still holding on. Kara pressed her hand to the screen. It wasn't the same as holding him, but it was something. A light hope. Over the next weeks, they kept talking. Not every day, not even every week, but the messages came. Some short, some long. And with every word, Kara felt something return. Connection. They didn't talk about the future too much. It was still uncertain. But they talked about stars, old memories, and the feeling of floating between two worlds. One night, Kara whispered to herself, he's still my person. and for the first time in a long time, she didn't feel lost. The space between them was still wide. But it no longer felt empty. It was full of words, warmth, and the kind of hope that only humans could carry across the STA. The stars are far apart, but human hearts are made to reach across them. This is the third chapter in a story of distance, sadness, and the deep hope that keeps us trying. Kara sat at the back of the small garden dome, her eyes watching the gentle movement of artificial leaves. It was the only green space on the whole station, and lately, it had become her quiet place, a place to think. A place to miss someone without pretending she didn't. It had been over 3 months now since Davin left for the Denari sector, and even with the few messages they'd exchanged, Kara still felt the gap between them. His last reply had warmed her heart, but silence had returned once again. Not a word in 16 days. She knew the mission was hard, knew the signal delay. But the longer the silence went on, the more she felt that old ache returning. Was he okay? Was he just busy? Or had something changed? She picked a leaf from the nearest plant and rolled it between her fingers. Jenna found her there an hour later. "You're hiding again," Jenna said gently. Kara gave a small shrug. "Just thinking." Sat beside her. "You're worried?" "I don't know what to say anymore," Kara admitted. "I've sent everything I could. I've shared my thoughts, my feelings, old memories, and I'm still waiting. Every day I just ... Don't want to be the only one trying." Jenna nodded. "That's the thing about us, though. Humans, we try even when we're tired. Even when there's no answer. Because we believe there's something or someone worth reaching for." Kara stayed quiet. But those words stayed with her. Later that night, she returned to her room and looked at her console. She didn't plan to send a message, but her fingers moved to the recorder anyway. Her voice was soft. "Hey Davin, it's me again. Keep wondering if my messages are too much or not enough. Maybe they're getting lost. Maybe you're too tired to answer. I understand. I really do. But if you ever feel like you need someone to hear you, someone who won't judge or walk away, I'm here. I'm still here." She ended the message and paused, then added one more sentence. "I believe in you." She didn't say more. She didn't need to. She hit send. The next days moved slowly. Worked in the engine room, helped calibrate the solar sensors, and even joined a small crew meal. But her mind was always waiting, listening. On the 7th day, the message arrived. It wasn't long. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. "Kara, I listened to your last message more times than one. I can count. I didn't answer because I didn't know what to say. Things have been hard. We lost another relay. Our food supply got damaged. Everyone's on edge. I didn't want to bring that into your world. But hearing your voice reminded me that I don't have to carry this alone. You still care. It means more than you know. And I haven't stopped caring either." At the end, he added, "I believe in you too." Kara smiled. It was small and quiet. But it was real. The next few weeks weren't perfect. Messages still came slowly. Sometimes they said little. Other times they were filled with quiet pain. But they kept talking. Not just because it was easy, but because it mattered. One night, Kara looked out at the stars again and thought about the word distance. To most, it meant separation, silence, loneliness. But to her now, it meant something more. It meant patience, strength, hope. Because no matter how far someone was, humans had a gift. They kept reaching. They kept caring. They kept hoping even. When the world went quiet, and that hope, that deeply human feeling, was what made them more than just passengers in space. It made them a family. It made them whole. Asterisk. Time and silence can make even the strongest bonds feel weak. But humanity has a quiet strength, the will to keep holding on. This chapter tells how one heart, even in sadness, never stops reaching out. Kara stood in the docking bay, watching another crew board a shuttle for a nearby moon. Laughter and excitement echoed through the large space. People were exploring, connecting, living. But Kara felt like she was standing still. It had been 24 days since Davin's last message. She checked her console every morning, and every night, nothing No new signals, no recordings, no short notes, just silence. She didn't tell Jenna. She didn't want another pep talk. She had heard them all. He'll write back. Maybe the system's down. You're stronger than this. Maybe she was. But she didn't feel strong anymore. She felt tired. Her thoughts drifted to the early days before he left, before the silence. She remembered the sound of his laugh, the way he always tapped the edge of his cup twice before, drinking, and the gentle way he listened. He never interrupted, never rushed her. He made her feel seen. Now she felt invisible. The worst part wasn't just missing him. It was not knowing what they were anymore. Friends? Something more? Or just a memory? That night, Kara sat alone in the observation deck. Stars filled the sky like tiny ships frozen in time. She spoke softly to the silence. Davin, I don't know if you hear me anymore. I miss you. I miss what we had. I miss the feeling that we understood each other. I don't know how to fix this. I don't even know if you want me to. But I still hope she didn't record it. She didn't send it. It was just words floating in the air. The next morning, she woke up early and went to the engineering room. Something inside her refused to let go. If Davin couldn't reach her, maybe she could find another way. She pulled up the communication logs and studied the Denari sector network. Then she looked through outdated emergency channels, old pathways used in case the main system failed. Most were blocked, some corrupted. But one showed a weak signal path just enough for a message, if timed right. Kara stayed there for hours, repairing the code, checking signal strength, and building a simple, stable packet. Jenna found her in the middle of the mess. "You're trying again?" she asked. Kara didn't look up. If he's out there, he deserves to know someone hasn't given up on him. Jenna smiled and gently squeezed her shoulder. That's very you. After almost 2 full days of work, Kara was ready. She recorded one message. Her voice was steady, but soft. Hear this? Is Kara? I'm using an old backup channel.
Ow.
I hope it reaches you. I don't know if you're lost or just far away. But I'm still here. You're still important to me. Even if you can't reply, even if this is goodbye, I just needed you to know. You mattered. She sent it, waited again. 4 days later, as she lay in bed watching the ceiling lights. Dim, her console beeped once. One message. Unknown channel. Her heart jumped. Interest up. She opened it with shaking fingers. Davin's voice came through, scratchy but clear. I don't even know how you found this path. You've been cut off for a while. Systems failed. Power was low. I thought I'd lost you. But your message or voice, it got through. It reminded me why I'm still fighting to come home. He paused. You never stopped trying. That's the most human thing I've ever known. Kara's eyes filled with quiet tears. It's not sad ones. Not this time. In the days that followed, they kept the backup channel open. It wasn't strong. And sometimes the words came broken, but they came. Davin told her about surviving a cold night with only a space blanket and a story she once told him. She told him about watching the green dome grow its first real flower. They were far apart, but their hearts were close again. And Kara knew this was humanity, the deep feeling that refused to fade, the hope that kept people searching, sending, believing. Because even across the stars, humans found a way. They always did. Kara looked down at her hands, stained with oil and dust from a long day in the engine bay. Her body was tired, but her mind was even more so. Every night she tried to stop thinking about Davin, but it never worked. The backup signal was still weak. She hadn't heard from him in nearly 2 weeks now. Their short return to communication had felt like a miracle. She had held on to it like a spark in the dark, but now the quiet had come back. This time, it felt heavier. She sat alone in her room that night, staring at a small photo she had printed from one of their training days. Davin was standing beside her, grinning with one arm thrown over her shoulder. She had forgotten how close they used to be. Back then there were no long silences, no half-finished messages. Just 2 people who understood each other completely. Now she felt like she didn't even know what he was feeling. Was he afraid? Hurt? Was he even alive? That last thought hit her like a cold wind. No, she whispered out loud. I would. No, I would feel it. The next morning, Kara walked into the comms room. She didn't wait. She opened the recorder again, even though her messages sometimes never made it through. Ty Davin, I'm sorry to bother you again. I know you're dealing with a lot, but I'm still here. I guess I just need to talk. Even if you don't answer? Even if the words only travel into space? She paused, then continued. Some days I feel like I'm waiting for someone who's already moved on, and that scares me. But then I remember the way you used to look at me when I was fixing the ship like I was the smartest person in the galaxy. That memory keeps me going. Maybe you're out there thinking of it too. She ended the message and sent it through the patchy emergency signal. Kara didn't expect a reply. Not anymore. But sending the message still made her feel less alone. She walked to the observation deck and sat quietly for a while. The stars blinked as always, cold and far. But tonight, they didn't feel as lonely. 3 days later, as Kara was finishing, her system reports, her console beeped softly. A message had arrived. She didn't breathe as she opened it. Kara, I'm still here. That one sentence made her heart jump. She kept reading. I'm sorry for going quiet again. The systems failed worse than before. We've been stuck. I couldn't reach anyone. Your last message got through just in time. I listened to it again and again while we fixed the ship. You said you felt like maybe I had moved on, but I haven't. I think of you every single day. Kara covered her mouth, eyes watering. You kept trying, even when I couldn't answer. You never gave up on me. That's why I'm still holding on. That's why I haven't lost myself out here. He added a few more words that made her heart ache and smile at the same time. I hope to see you again. I hope we get that chance. But until then, don't stop being you. Kara sat in silence after reading. The message wasn't long, but it was enough. It was real. It was him. Over the next week, they found a rhythm again. She sent messages when the signal was clear, and he replied when he could. Sometimes they told stories. Sometimes they just said they missed each other. It wasn't perfect, but it was human, in a galaxy full of silence and space. They were two voices still reaching, two hearts still hoping. Kara understood now. Connection didn't always mean words every day or perfect timing. Sometimes it just meant refusing to let go, choosing to care, choosing to keep trying even when it hurt, and that more than anything was what made humans different. They loved with everything they had, even across the stars asterisk. Even when voices fade and time moves on, the human heart remembers. In this part of the story, we see how one message of love can travel across silence and why humans never stop reaching out. Kara stood by the large window of the control deck,
Ow.
holding a hot drink close to her chest.
Ow.
The stars outside blinked, gently, just as they always had. But today, they felt different, warmer somehow, like they were watching her instead of just shining. She had received Davin's last message 6 days ago. It wasn't long, but it stayed with her. He was alive, still cared. That was all she needed to feel strong again. But since then, there had been nothing. The emergency channel had gone quiet again. Kara understood. System was old, the distance far, but even knowing that didn't stop the ache from growing. She had sent 3 more messages in the last 5 days. Just simple thoughts like, we fixed the backup water filter today. You would have been proud of me. I didn't break anything. Or, the stars over Sector 9 look like the necklace you gave me before you left. I still wear it.
What?
No reply came. Still, Kara didn't stop. She remembered something her mother once said. If someone matters to you, keep the door open, even if they're far away. That door could be the reason they'd find their way back. That evening, she walked to the green dome and sat by the same plant where she had waited weeks before. The leaves were bigger now, soft and full of life. She smiled at them, even though they couldn't smile back. Then she pulled out a small recorder and started talking. Hey, Davin. Today was quiet. I guess it reminded me of when we used to just sit together without saying much. You always said the silence between us felt safe. I hope it still does, wherever you are. She paused. I wish I knew what to say to make everything better, but I guess all I can do is be here, just like always. She saved the message but didn't send it yet. The signal was too weak tonight. Maybe tomorrow. As she walked back to her room, she noticed Jenna waiting outside her door. "You're still trying, huh?" Jenna asked softly. Kara nodded. "I have too." Jenna looked down, then back up. "I talked to command. They're sending a scout ship to the Denari sector next month. Supply run and system check." Kara's heart jumped. "Really?" Jenna smiled. "And I put your name on the crew list." Kara stared, eyes wide. "You did what?" "You deserved the chance to see him," Jenna said. "Even if it's just from a distance. Even if you don't get to talk, I know you'll find a way." Kara felt tears rise to her eyes, but they were from joy, not sadness this time. She hugged Jenna tightly. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you so much." The next few weeks moved slowly, but with purpose. Kara trained hard, preparing for the trip. She repaired scout ship systems, studied the Denari protocols, and reviewed safety procedures. She poured all her energy into being ready. Still no word from Davin, but she held on to hope. Stronger than before, on the day of departure, she stood in front of the small ship, heart pounding. Her console buzzed with last-minute checks. The moment she stepped inside, something felt right. She was finally moving toward him. The flight was long, but calm. Kara spent the quiet hours thinking about their first conversation, about his laugh, about the time he fixed her broken headset with a piece of foil and a smile. She never wanted to forget those things when they reached orbit. Around Denari Station, Kara rushed to the comms. "Anything on the emergency channel?" she asked. A young tech checked. One broken message. "It's for you." Kara leaned in as the message played. It was damaged, full of static, but one part came through clear. "Kara, if you're hearing this, you made it. I always knew you would." Her hand covered her mouth as tears rolled down her face. She laughed gently through them. He knew she'd come later. Standing on the deck of the Denari station, Kara watched the stars from a new angle. Somewhere nearby, Davin was out there waiting. She hadn't seen him yet, but she would. She had come all this way for one reason, because humans don't give up. Even when love feels far, even when words are lost, they keep the door open. Kara stood tall, stronger than ever. She wasn't just waiting anymore, she was reaching, and she knew in her heart he would reach back. Distance and silence can feel like walls, but human hearts know how to climb them. This chapter follows a journey of hope, courage, and the unbreakable will to reconnect. Kara sat quietly in the small common room of Denari Station, her heart pounding, with nerves she hadn't felt in a long time. Today was the day she might finally see Davin. She'd arrived at the station 2 days earlier. After a long and careful journey through space, the scout ship had brought her safely to this small outpost. Far from home, it wasn't the comfort of their old station, but it was the same sky they both looked at every hour since landing. She'd been checking the comm logs and waiting for a message, a sign, anything that said he was near. The last message she received on the backup channel was now 2 weeks old. But she didn't lose hope. A soft knock came at the door. Jenna stepped inside with a small data pad. They said Davin just returned from the field. He's resting but wanted to send a message. Kara took the pad with trembling hands and played the video. Davin's face appeared, tired but smiling. "Softly, Kara, you're here. I saw the scout ship land. I didn't want to bother you while you were settling in, but I wanted you to know I'm okay. I'm alive, and I can't wait to see you." Her breath caught. The voice she had missed. So much was real again. Jenna smiled. "I'll tell the team you're ready to meet him when you want." Kara nodded, tears in her eyes. Hours later, Kara stood near the station's small garden dome, waiting. The green plants smelled fresh, almost like earth. She heard footsteps. A tall figure approached. It was Davin. He looked tired and worn, but his eyes lit up the moment he saw her. "Kara," he said softly. Davin, she replied, voice trembling. They stood there, not saying much at first, just looking at each other. After months of silence and distance, the moment felt both strange and perfect. Davin reached out and took her hand gently. I'm sorry for the silence, for making you worry. Kara shook her head. I'm just glad you're here. All that matters. They spent the rest of the day sharing stories about the hardships, the fears, the moments they felt alone but kept going. Every word brought them closer. It wasn't just the same friendship anymore. It was something deeper, built on hope, trust, and the human strength to hold on. That night, Kara looked at the stars from the station's observation deck. She thought about the long journey, the messages sent and received, and the courage it took to keep trying. She realized that the distance had not broken them. It had made them stronger, because humans, above all, never give up on the people they care about, no matter how far apart, no matter how long the silence. They keep reaching. They keep hoping, and eventually, they come back together. Asterisk, sometimes the longest journey isn't through space, but through the heart. In this final chapter, see how hope and human spirit bring two souls back together against all odds. Kara and Davin sat side by side in the small lounge of Denari Station, their hands touching lightly on the table between them. It was a quiet moment after a busy day of catching up and sharing stories. The stars outside twinkled, like old friends watching over them. For months, they had lived apart, separated by distance, silence, and uncertainty. Each had felt the weight of that space. In different ways, Kara, with her endless hope, sending message after message, Davin struggling to find his way back through broken signals and hardship. But now, they were together. Kara looked at Davin's tired eyes and smiled softly. I never stopped believing you'd come back, she said. Davin squeezed her hand gently. And I never stopped hearing your voice. It was the light that guided me. They talked late into the night about dreams and fears, about how the galaxy felt less lonely now that they had each other again. Kara thought about how humans never give up, not on their missions, not on their friends, and especially not on those they love. It was in their nature to fight through darkness and reach for connection, no matter how distant it seemed. The stars outside might be far apart, but human hearts knew no limits. They could cross any space, they could heal any silence, and they could hold on to hope heaven in the darkest times. As Kara and Davin leaned into the quiet, surrounded by soft lights and endless stars, they knew this was only the beginning of a new journey. Together, because humanity's greatest strength was not just in exploring the stars, but in never letting go of each other. The space between them was gone, and hope had won.